It's variety.
Welcome to Variety. Today's guest is a circus artist, director and producer who's not only performed with La Clique and Cirque du Soleil, but was also Mary Poppins in the Olympic opening ceremony. Welcome to the pod, Katharine Arnold.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Can we start at the very beginning, if you don't mind? Where did you grow up?
So I'm actually, weirdly, London born and bred, which I know is very
rare these days.
I grew up in Brixton.
Not too far
South
from
London
here.
girl, not too far from here. Have travelled a lot since then, so I've lived in lots of different places, but I think London is sort of home.
And your parents were performers, or?
Absolutely not. No, they were slightly aghast when they realised that was what I wanted to do. No, my father was a lawyer, and my mum was a civil servant.
So sensible people.
Sensible people with sensible jobs. I went to a very academic school. You know, it was all very much that was the path. My mum is very artistic, so she is a pianist. She plays piano, and I went to ballet class from the age of 3. So I was always sort of very interested in music and dancing and that kind of thing. And you know, was in school plays from the minute I could speak and that kind of thing. So I think it was always quite obvious that was a bit of a leaning. And then circus was never a thing, actually. So I didn't even contemplate circus or circus arts or anything like that. I always just wanted to be an actress or musical theatre. So I did a lot of dance, did a lot of ballet, did National Youth Music Theatre for a little bit. And so I was sort of super into that. And then I ended up doing a performing arts degree, which was...
Where did you do that?
That was at Middlesex University.
Okay.
Which at the time had a really good performing arts degree. And there was a lot of focus on sort of physical theatre. So we did, Arto and Theatre of the Absurd.
Oh, Arto, yes.
All of that.
Theatre of the Absurd and all that,
Exactly.
Yes.
So that was really, I really just sort of thought I was going to be this contemporary physical theatre artist. And it was all, it was all quite serious, and we did all these kind of modules where it was about,
and you mime and
rituals
all stuff like that.
And mime and that kind of thing. I remember one time we all thought we were just being so innovative, and we all grew our armpit hair for like 3 months and then shaved it off on stage ritually and all this stuff.
Yeah, there needs to be more of that.
Yeah.
Where's that all gone?
And sort of, obsessed with kind of DVA and all those, amazing companies and Complicité and all of that kind of thing. And then we ended up doing, I think it was in my second year, we ended up doing a module, and this company called Fevered Sleep came in and did a show with us, and they brought some circus equipment. So we had a trapeze rigged, and we all learned how to do peg stilt walking and other bits and pieces. And it sounds so cliched, but I touched the trapeze, had a go, and was just immediately obsessed. I just loved it.
So why do you think?
I don't know. I loved the idea of it. I guess there was something about the sort of the wildness or the glamour of the idea of the circus. And I loved the feeling of being in the air. I liked being upside down. I'd kind of always been a kid that climbed on things and that sort of thing. And I quite liked gymnastics and all of that sort of thing.
So how old do you think you were at that point?
I was probably 18 or 19.
Oh, so you're quite young.
But anyway, I took myself off to do adult evening classes all the way through the rest of my degree at Circus Space, which is now the National Centre for Circus Arts.
That's now in
Shoreditch.
Oh, not in Bristol. That's in that.
Bristol is Circa Media.
Oh, different.
Which is another. They're the 2 UK schools which have sort of full. You can do a full 3-year BA.
So you can do you can do a BA course in circus.
Yeah, I teach on it actually.
We'll mention that later.
Yeah.
For anyone out there who wants to be a circus performer. So that's interesting. So you went to adult classes for how long?
Went to adult classes for, I guess that was probably halfway through my second year or something. So for another sort of year and a half while I was finishing my degree, I was trekking off to East London.
And in your head at that point, were you thinking to yourself, this is what I want to do as a career?
Not really. I just loved it. And I really loved the feeling of getting stronger physically. I remember I remember this one time that I was I was walking back from the tube station at night on my own. And I remember thinking, this is really cool because I feel, and I'd just done a trapeze class. And I remember just feeling really strong and sort of powerful and feeling like I could scale a wall and run away from someone, or I could, which I hadn't really felt before because I was always
that's very interesting.
Weedy.
No, but that's very interesting. So you felt, strong, you felt empowered. So then at what point do you think you started thinking of it as a career, or did that happen by accident?
Well, it was really an accident. So I graduated. I thought I did a couple of fringe theatre-y type plays, did some acting. I was in a couple of pop videos. I did a couple of steps pop videos, did some music videos, bits and pieces of things. But, it's really hard. And I was kind of doing all these freelance bits and pieces. And then I got offered a job at Bloomberg, which is
financial consulting who are not known for the circus performance.
Who are not widely known for the circus performance. Yeah. A friend of mine from university was working there, and a job came up, and I thought, okay, let's try it. Financial security, I've sort of given this a go. It's really difficult. So I ended up working at Bloomberg for a while, and I kind of, in my head, I didn't love it, but I sort of thought this is probably a really sensible idea. Not that I'd ever particularly listened to sensible ideas before, but anyway, I thought maybe it's time. Yeah.
Clearly that didn't last long.
It really didn't last very long. So I was there, and then I had a call from someone saying, oh, I know you're really into circus, and I've just seen this audition notice for a company called Gifford Circus, and they're doing a summer tour, and they need performers. And I thought, oh, sod it, I'll go to the audition and see what happens. And then I got the job. So then I had this sort of moment of going, right, do I stick with this new job I have at Bloomberg, which is potentially, financial security
for the rest of your life,
for the rest of my life, and lots of places to go within the company and all of that kind of thing, or do I quit and go and live in quarter of a truck for almost no money? And
there's an easy choice, I would have thought.
Well, you can probably guess what the answer was. So
most people I've spoken to, obviously there is a point at which they need to make a choice, but it's not quite as clearly defined. That was a very clear moment, wasn't it?
It was a clear
either
moment.
Or A or B. And if you decided to stick with Bloomberg, that would have been your life.
Yeah, very possibly. I sometimes think about that. I'm like, oh, wow.
Can I ask you an honest question? Do you ever regret it?
No.
Never a day?
Never a day. Not a single day. And I can say that completely honestly. Not a single. I feel so incredibly lucky and privileged to have had a 20-year career doing something that I absolutely love, and traveling the world and meeting the most amazing people and working with incredible people. And I do not regret it in any way at all. That's not to say I don't sometimes think, oh God, what's going to happen when I'm, 65? And
so that it was a question, because obviously you're very much like an athlete. In a way you are an athlete, aren't you? Because it's very physical what you do. You have to be, so there must be a point physically at which you can't do what you can do.
Yeah, allegedly that should probably have been about 10 years ago. But I had a major surgery during the pandemic. I had a big abdominal surgery to remove had a 9-centimeter tumor in my pancreas that they took out.
That's not good.
It wasn't great.
Not good. No,
it wasn't great. So they took out.
It was just sort of hanging around there,
just
hang around.
Just hanging around, doing its thing, growing a little bit, being a bit annoying. And so I had that removed along with half my pancreas, but they had to go through my entire abdominal wall to it was open surgery. So I couldn't sit up for probably 4 months afterwards. And I really thought that was that. I thought I wouldn't perform again. I thought that was the end of the performing bit of my career, and then I would just sort of carry on doing, directing and choreographing and teaching and all of that kind of thing. And I was sad about it, but I thought, right, well, it had to happen at some point. And then I wanted to rehab anyway, just for myself, because I like to feel fit and strong.
Yeah.
And I just started getting work again, and I thought,
Stick to it.
Why not?
So you auditioned for Giffords, and obviously you enjoyed that. And then I presume, as always, is where if things go well, you get picked up. Other people see you, and you start getting. What's it like working for a company? I suppose because you've worked like with Cirque du Soleil and lots of different companies. What's that like?
I mean, it's so variable depending on who the company is, I think, and what they do. So the next thing I did after Giffords was that I was sort of training at Circus Space, and I'd just go there and do my own independent training. And a flying trapeze company saw me training and said, they'd just got a big chunk of Arts Council funding. They said, "Do you want to come and do our show? We're doing an outdoor rock and roll flying trapeze circus show called the Flying Dudes Rock and Roll Circus." And because I play piano as well, so we had a live band.
Wow.
And we made original music, and we toured this show with an outdoor flying rig where we all played instruments and then got up and flew around in the air. And that was the first sort of, aside from Giffords, that was the first sort of company I'd worked for, but they were wild. I mean, and it was just sort of a fun time. There was loads of freedom. You know, we sort of got to create our own stuff. It was all very collaborative. So that was amazing. And then I pretty much went straight from that to Berlin to work in a show at the Friedrichstadtpalast, which is a large-scale sort of European revue show, which was the other end of the spectrum, because that is very much like, this is exactly what the act is, this is what you do.
So for that type of thing, is the act there's no creative freedom for you. You are told this is the act.
Yeah.
And I presume for Cirque du Soleil and all those, this is the costume you're wearing, this is the act, this is the music. So there is no creative freedom.
There is no I mean, I think with something like Cirque, if you're part of the original cast or something and you're there for a creation period of a show, then maybe there's a little more, but they're heavily directed.
Can I talk to you about Cirque for a bit?
Yeah.
So that obviously, for me as a sort of a layman, completely changed people's view. What impact did that have on you as someone in circus, specifically Cirque du Soleil, in terms of people's view on things?
I think they'd already done a couple of their original, Allegria, Kidam, those kind of shows, sort of before I even really registered circus as a thing.
So it's been going on quite a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember when I first started circus and doing circus things, that was the absolute, I remember seeing a version of Kidam when I very first started doing things and just being absolutely sort of amazed by it and thinking that's the pinnacle, that's the goal, that's what I want to do one day.
Because it's the production values, isn't it? It's the costumes, just the look,
everything. But I mean, and also, just the skill level is always so high. It's just always kind of, all the acrobats in Cirque du Soleil are always just top of their game. So that was always a company that sort of was aspirational, and I think still is for a lot of performers, but in a different way now, I think. But it's the company that everybody's heard of. It's the company that people in the street have heard of, and there's something I think about doing Cirque which still, rightly or wrongly, kind of legitimizes you as a circus artist.
Yes, it's like performing for a Premier League football team. It's like the top.
It is, although the difference is, I think now there are other leagues which are amazing as well, but people just haven't necessarily heard of them.
So in terms of all the sort of companies or shows you've been in, which has been your favourite, do you think?
Am I allowed to say my own?
Of course you are. Of course you are.
Yeah. I mean...
And sort of understandably.
Yeah. Three and a bit years ago, me and Nathan and Isis, who you may or may not, I think you probably have worked with.
Yeah.
And we'd worked together for years on various different things, and we'd always talked about the idea of making something, because we really felt there was a gap between... There's sort of lots of really good line-up cabaret, really slick line-up cabaret, Le Soirée, Le Clique, all these sort of shows that have done really well and have really high-quality acts, but they're sort of single acts that come out and they maybe have a compere or a host.
It's basically a cabaret show.
Or whatever, but it's a really good cabaret show. Lots of that, and then lots of good contemporary circus, the Australian, like Circus and Goms, the Australian circus companies and Canadian circus companies that are doing really cool things. We sort of felt there wasn't that much in the middle, that was kind of commercial and wasn't serious and took itself quite lightly, but that also had more of an ensemble feel with a bit of character and a bit of potential sort of narrative.
So I was going to tell you, so yes, narrative, because I always thought Cirque had a sort of, well, it did have a narrative, didn't it, ish?
We've been really interested always in sort of the juxtaposition of live entertainment and circus and pop culture and that sort of thing. So our show that we ended up making, we sort of took references from kind of late 90s, early 2000s movies, sort of character stereotypes and that kind of thing. And we just tried to build a world. And then we also referenced companies that had been doing a lot more of the immersive stuff.
Like Punch Drunk and people.
Exactly. And the other two in my company had been working on Queen of the Night in the US, which was collaboration with Punch Drunk. And we'd all done bits and pieces of that kind of thing. And so we wanted to do something which was similar to that, but a lot lighter.
So with comedy?
With comedy. So it's sort of comedy, circus, audience interaction. So the concept of the show that we're doing now it's called Sophie's Surprise 29th Birthday Party, and it's a surprise birthday party that all the audience are at, and Sophie is always an audience member. So we pick every night a new Sophie.
And this seems to be where it's at in London at the moment, sort of immersiveness, bit of a cliche, but it certainly seems to be more and more popular in all genres, actually.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not sort of immersive in the way that a Punch Drunk show is, for example, but we have things like we play games with the audience. We play a Name That Tune game, and we pelt them with crisps if they get the answers right. And then we do a karaoke song at the end. We get everyone to sing with us.
So I suppose that's quite interesting, because I suppose one of the Cirque du Soleil takes itself quite seriously. I mean, it obviously has comic moments, but the whole thing seems quite serious, doesn't it? And I think it would be nice, or it obviously is nice to have something which is slightly lighter from a circus point of view.
I agree. And I think really, it's just nice to be able to entertain people.
Are you conscious of being up there, or are you in some zone?
It's a bit of a zone.
So you're not thinking, oh, that man over there is not paying. You're not aware.
No,
of
I don't see the audience.
But are you aware of anything at that point? Or are you just?
I'm just aware of what I'm doing. I mean, for me, and not everybody is the same, I don't think, with this, but for me, it's really about the music a lot of the time. So it's kind of like, and that's why I love certain types of aerial equipment, because I like the feeling of sort of dancing in the air to music, and I think musicality is really important. And
okay, in which case, let me just play this video then.
Oh, what is it?
So
is it
that's a hoop.
That's a hoop.
Okay, so where was this?
I'm actually not sure, because that costume's had a few outings. That might have been, I think. Let me look at the stage. Okay, so that was a season of La Soiree at the Old Witch Theatre.
Okay, so and like that would you would have choreographed that yourself?
Yeah.
What would be the process then for you to design?
With a show like that, I would speak to the director or producer, and I'd probably give them a few song choices. I'd say, I'm maybe thinking about doing something like this.
So it starts, as you said, with the music.
For me, yes, not for everybody.
Okay, that makes sense.
For me, I would find it really weird to choreograph something without knowing what the track was, because
although you could go the other way, you could think, I want something which is romantic or has a feel to it, and then choose a piece of music which matches that.
Yes, sorry. And I've definitely done that before, where I've had an idea, like I do this plastic surgery act that I've done.
Plastic surgery act?
Yeah, I have a sort of plastic surgery parody act where it was because I got so sad because all these 20-year-olds were getting their
plastic surgery parody act.
Yeah.
That's great. You describe that again.
I was like, well, I've hit 40. I don't want to get loads of things jabbed into my face, and all these young people are doing it, so I'm going to make a parody act. So I basically made an act where I just massively overdraw my lips, and I've got the markings all over my body, and I've got like I come on with a drip stand, and a blood bag and a hospital gown to this really stupid track, which is all about, fake stuff and plastic surgery or whatever. And then I get injected with anesthetic by, I always have like a nurse, some sort of like nurse sidekick, ideally in drag or high heels or something. And then
drag nurse, yeah, I see that.
Yes, great. The music segues into this really beautiful postmodern jukebox version of Creep. And then I do a hoop act to Creep, which is sort of meant to be a bit more beautiful and moving and sad. So, and I quite like that thing of setting something up and then turning it on its head.
Undercutting it, yes.
And that's what we've tried to do quite a lot in Sophie's as well. And, there are a few other acts that I've made, but I really enjoy that thing of switching something halfway through, or of making people feel something and then it's something different, or
because I think that's true. So often you do anything in life, it's entirely expected.
Yeah.
And it's great, but it's as you expect it to be. And to be taken somewhere and then suddenly to be taken somewhere else, I think that can be very memorable. Can I just ask you, even now training-wise, do you have to put in a lot of work just to keep fit, to keep on it?
I really like training, so I do train quite a lot, but not everybody does. I mean, I think that you sort of, when you're starting, you need to really build strength and learn a lot. And then at a certain point, you kind of just need to maintain. So maintenance is kind of easier than building, I think. So, but I think it sort of does that for everybody throughout your career. Like if I'm doing a show, if I'm doing 8 shows a week, I'm doing a contract and I'm doing 8 shows a week, I don't really need to train that much outside of that because I'm show fit.
For me, in a way, part of the delight of live entertainment is the knowledge that something can go wrong.
Totally.
Yeah. Because if you knew it was perfect, it wouldn't quite have that frisson.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I love live entertainment way more than I love doing telly or film or anything like that, because I just think that's cool.
So you cock this up, we can edit it out, and so it's appear like it's so boring. So tell me something that's going wrong.
That video that you just showed at the Old Witch, that was one of the best things, one of the stupidest things that's ever happened was on that season, and I was doing hoop, and we had, I think, a hair hanger in the show and a loop sack. We had quite a lot of single point aerial things going on. And someone at some point, stage manager or whatever, had said, can everybody cable tie their swivel to their carabiner so we don't mix up people's equipment? And we'd all gone, yeah, sure, fine.
So was swivel, cabo?
So swivel is the spinny thing.
Yes.
And then the carabiner is like the linking thing.
The linking thing, yeah.
Just so that we didn't, everyone kept their own equipment together. Anyway, cable ties have little sharp ends when you snip them off. Didn't really think about it. Start the act, go up in the air, had my hair down for effective hairography.
Which is the thing, a very important thing. Yeah.
A very important thing. I was on my hoop, I was in front of it like this, and I flicked my hair back, and my hair got caught in the cable tie and went and just span up into the swivel. So the back of my head was attached to the rigging, and I'm here on the hoop like this, and I literally couldn't move my head at all. So there was nothing I could do but just stay there. This is in front of, like however many, 800 people in the Old Witch Theatre. I'm at 5 meters in the air.
Did they notice, do you
6
think?
meters in the air. Well, I think so, because I just didn't move. I just stopped. And Leon, who was one of the other artists who was on the motor, noticed and was like, oh, something's happened there. So brought me down to the stage. But then I still couldn't move because I was still attached to the thing. So I think they were all thinking I'd just get off and go, but I'm obviously just still there like this. So then one of the other artists had to come out and unclip me, but I still couldn't move from the hoop. So I had to basically crab walk off the stage attached to my hoop.
But you see how much more memorable than just if it had gone smoothly, I think. The other problem I think also today is, there's a lot of, when you go to a lot of theatre, a lot of acts, part of the act thing is something pretending to go wrong, where the audience is meant to think, but that now the audience think that anything that goes wrong is somehow meant to have gone wrong. It's sort of, so no one quite knows what actually is wrong or not
wrong.
Or not. So you can get away with almost anything. You just smile a lot and go, ta-da.
Yeah. Totally.
And everyone's quite happy.
Yeah.
I was at a magician's show where something went wrong with technology. And that's the other thing, of course, technology is we're all reliant on that, with sound systems going wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and, motors as well. That's why, I actually much prefer a human manual lifting system, because there have been several occasions where I've been on a motor and it's gone, the computer's bust or something's stopped. Or
Obviously, you're working often at high. Does that freak you out or not at all?
No, it doesn't. I've always been okay with heights. But I would say I have a healthy respect for them.
But it also means you have to trust people. Trust the people who've rigged, for example.
Yes.
Your life is literally in their hands.
Yeah. If I'm doing a show where I'm being lifted by somebody, in my mind, it's kind of a duet. Because I think it's, that relationship is so important for timing, for safety, for everything.
In terms of look, costumes and stuff, is that like the one we saw in the video, do you design your own costumes?
So that one, yes. I mean, in the last sort of few years, I've done a lot less. I don't know if I can really get away with the sort of just sexy glam thing now. So I've done a lot more of the sort of more ridiculous. I mean, I made an aerial Zimmer frame for a show I was doing 2 years ago and came out as the Queen of England. So I've got a full Queen wig and a sort of little green suit, and I had a blow up corgi dog, and so I really enjoy doing more character stuff. The plastic surgery thing, the Queen of England. In our show, in Sophie Surprise, I'm a sort of geeky nerd who has a bit of a Sandy from Greece transformation halfway through. So I find that really fun.
But because actually, you're right. I mean, I go to Clique or Edinburgh Fringe or whatever, and you do see quite a lot of female performers in just the same pretty tight lycra costumes, which is sort of fine, but it seems almost a bit of a bit too easy in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not sort of dismissing that in any way, and I think it's great. And when I was 25, I felt really great doing that as well. But I think when I'm watching things, I sort of enjoy something that has a bit of a concept more. Like I like to see an idea behind something or a concept. And obviously you don't always have the freedom to do that, because sometimes if you're doing a corporate event or something like that, what they want is just something really beautiful and impressive in the air, which looks glamorous and sparkly, and that's totally fine. But then I think if you're in a show where you've got the freedom to play around, it's sort of more fun to do that.
Definitely. But do you think the need for sort of sexualization is still a thing in terms of female performers?
Yeah, I do. In a lot of places, yeah, I do. Again, it sort of depends on what and where. But I mean, all of the sort of club work, that kind of thing, often I think for corporate events.
And do you think that's wrong, or do you just think it is as it is? That is, and in its ways, that's how it's always been. But that doesn't make it right, I suppose, either.
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong, necessarily, with wanting to watch something that's aesthetically beautiful. We do that with ballet, or we do that with,
But there's a line, isn't there, between aesthetically beautiful and sort of sexually provocative somewhere?
Yes.
Within entertainment, you're always near that line, both men and women, actually.
Yeah.
So you see male acts, topless male acts.
Yeah. So, but then I guess probably it comes down to choice, doesn't it? Because if it's the performer's choice to do that, then fantastic, absolutely, go for it, be as provocative as you want. But I think if it's forced on you and you're not particularly comfortable with it, then maybe it's problematic.
True, although the issue arises if you're just starting out and you feel you need to because...
Well, yeah, and that I think that's a little problematic if you're brand new and you're just starting out and somebody's trying to make you wear something you're really uncomfortable in or whatever. That's not great.
And I suppose it's then good having more female directors or producers who can at least empathise slightly more from that perspective.
Yeah, although I'm sure there are men that can empathise
Yeah, yeah.
with that perspective too. But there was a lot of that when I was starting out. I feel like there's probably less of that now. I think people are a lot more conscious about not overstepping in that way. So I would hope that doesn't happen too often.
If there was a person who wanted to be a circus performer, what sort of advice would you
Don't do it!
That's what everyone says.
Get a real job. No.
Go and work for a financial company and yes.
You know, as I said before, I have zero regrets. I have loved all of my career and still love it completely. But I do think it's hard. I think I'm really lucky. I've also worked. I work really, really hard. I think you have to be like a dog with a bone with it. You have to be a little bit obsessed with it. You have to love training. You have to want to immerse yourself in the world. You have to do all of those things. If you're not that into it, it's really difficult. And I also think that it's harder now than it was. For many reasons, it's harder now than it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago.
Less work?
Less work. I mean, the London cabaret scene has died a little bit of a death in the last few years, since the pandemic, kind of.
And your views on why that is?
I think a lot of it is pandemic related, honestly, because I think there was a sort of resurgence of stuff post-pandemic, but I think that actually a lot of people still, e.g., work from home on Fridays and don't come out in Soho on Fridays and Saturdays. Then obviously cost of living crisis, people don't have as much disposable incomes, they don't want to go and spend money in bars and clubs and places like that. I don't know, it's probably a bunch of things that have made that happen, but a lot of venues, you know, I could probably name you 10 or 15 venues in
which used to be
2016 that were open and thriving, and now there's 2 or 3 that would hire circus artists.
So do you worry about the future of Cirque? I mean, not necessarily for yourself, but just in general?
I mean, there are still lots of great companies. So I think for a British performer or a London-based performer, the gig culture is not the same as it used to be. But I think there are still, if you're good and you want to do circus, there are still opportunities to go and work for companies. Most of those are not British, sadly, because we don't do very well with funding.
And I mean, without getting too political about it, I'm going to get too political about it. I think that is an issue, isn't it? In general, everyone pays lip service to the arts, you know, the soft power, et cetera, but at the end of the day, money is what talks.
Yeah.
And if you look at the German funding model particularly, it's not happening here.
Yeah, it's not happening here. I mean, almost everywhere. France have amazing circus theatre companies. Canada are really well funded. Australia are really well funded. Here, I mean, one of the reasons that we wanted to make our company was because we wanted there to be a good, high level,
which is
British circus company.
Yeah.
But we're entirely we've never had any funding of any sort, and it's really hard.
You remember that advert during COVID of the ballet dancer?
Yeah.
She could retrain as a cybersecurity person, which seemed to me to...
The most insulting advert ever to have been...
Yes, exactly, which seemed to just sum up.
Yeah.
You could just give up your 10, 20 years of training and go and do something else because...
Just forget about all of that stuff that you've poured your entire life into and go and do something else. Okay, sure, great idea, let's go.
I think that was a real realization of where people stood on the arts in general.
I know, it's a bit sad.
Anyway.
Let's not talk about it.
Let's not talk about it.
Okay, so given that we obviously don't have anything to hang off here, a little thing which is kind of useful in general because you've got to engage your core a little bit. So it's sort of to do with strength and balance and flexibility, is just getting up from the floor without using your hands, which ideally everyone should do. So the first thing to do is just sit down. So you're just going to keep your hands out in front of you, sit down, and then to stand up, you're going to pull your feet in as much as you can, tip yourself forwards, and just go to standing. And then, if you want to get really exciting about it, you can do the same thing, but on one leg. So one leg stays out in front, and then you're just going to stand up.
Easy.
Easy.
Thank you. Katharine, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. Thank you very, very much for your stories. That is the end of today's episode. If you want to hear more about Variety Podcast, do visit our social media channels. There'll be information about our Variety live shows also on the social media channels. So to the next time, see you at the next episode. Thank you very much.